guys and dolls, welcome back to my channel. And if you are new here, how you doing? Okay, so there is so much going on right now. It's not bad enough we're trying to dodge imaginary illnesses, and now we have to get supposed cures imposed on us by the powers that be. But now we're getting closer to what's called disclosure. And that's what this video is going to be about. If you know what I mean by disclosure, I think you do know what I mean about disclosure. If you have come back time and time again to listen to my stories, you know that a lot of my stories don't revolve around normal things. So without further delay, let's get this started. But before I do, please comment, like, subscribe, interact with me, tell me what you think. Let me know what's on your mind. Let me know if you agree with anything that I'm saying. I do try to gather this information. I gather the most interesting things that I find, and I think that I need you to know. I think that I want people to know, not that I think, but that I want people to know. I gather it. I either put it in a story or I put a video together for you, so you know what the deal is. So okay, so without further delay, let me begin by telling you the title of this video. This is going to be called the Career Return Program. And again, as you know, it's not the career that you might be thinking about. When I say the Career Return Program, this has to do with the secret space program. And the guy that has come forward, he is now known as a whistleblower. I don't think he works for the powers that be anymore. These stories that I'm about to kind of make videos on, especially this one, you can find them on UAMN TV. So I'm kind of helping get the word out. If you want to see Jason Rice, I don't know if I said his name, Jason Rice in person, like you want to see his face and you want to hear the story from him, UAMN TV has all of these stories. I'm kind of just putting more disclosure on my channel because it's interesting, and for those of you who don't venture out on that side of YouTube, you can listen, and I'll listen here and I'll tell you all about it. So Jason Rice, he was a part of what's called the 20 and Back program or the secret space program. And you basically serve, when you are drawn into this program, you are a special individual. I have to say that, because not everyone, obviously, I don't know anyone in the 20 and Back program. I don't know, maybe you know someone in the secret space program that can't really speak about it, which they are speaking about it now. But this supposed program, Jason Rice, when he was a child, from the story that he told, he was an escape artist. So he was constantly escaping. This was back, I want to say, in the 70s. He was escaping. His parents didn't know what to do. I think the police returned him for I don't know how many times they had to return him, but on the last return they told him if he were to escape again that they would take him and put him in foster care. So their parents didn't know what to do, so they took him to the local university because they were recommended a class or some type of training for him to make him not want to escape his house. Like I can't wrap my brain around that they couldn't keep track of him. But anyway, so this is where it started for him. The program was not the program that they thought. They were not really teaching him things for him to be better able to make better decisions on escaping his house. He was like 5 or 6. So this was a training program where they took kids to find out if they were going to be, either they had a gift or a talent of some kind, if they were intuitive, psychic. That's what the program was. And unfortunately for Jason Rice, he was an intuitive. So that's where it began for him there. And then as he kept growing, the program grew with him. And even after the parents no longer knew took him out of the program, or thought they did. Through grammar school, through high school, he was constantly being taken. They would test him, they would run him through all these mental games, and he was a kid, so he knew that, he just thought that it was a lot of fun things that he was going through. But it wasn't. It was the government taking him for testing and brainwashing him, and then making him forget when he went home. So when he was home with his family, he wouldn't remember anything. And this just happened for years and years and years and years. And as he got older, he went to college. They instilled in him the desire to do certain things. So he, I guess, got a scholarship. One was to be an engineer, and one was for like a doctor, a degree to be a doctor, and he took the engineering degree, which led him into the secret space program. Now, once he was in the secret space program, he said that it kind of worked like that scene in the Steven Spielberg movie where the aliens come down and they start walking down the spaceship, and then like the astronauts go up to meet them, and then they go in the spaceship with them. Jason Rice says that that pretty much was how the first contact happened on Earth. Like Steven Spielberg kind of knew something before he made that movie. Yeah, and which brings me back to George Lucas. Do you honestly think that these guys are still talented? Because a lot of the stories I have, a lot of the things that I'm about to tell you are very similar to Star Wars and very similar to Steven Spielberg movies. But anyway, let me continue. So Jason Rice, he worked with multiple extraterrestrials during his career and trained with them as well. He also went through desensitizing training. So as he got older and he went to college and they started to really train him through the secret space program, he was desensitized to them. So I don't even want to know what that entails. Being in the same room with one of the reptilian, or a different species that you've never seen before, like the mantis people, or the reptoids, like they're called, or the ant men. I mean, he was literally met all these different types of aliens, and it was like an everyday thing to him. And of course, even older, even in the secret space program, they would send him out to places, and before he went home, they would blank his mind. Okay, so Charlie, his first extraterrestrial ET encounter, was a typical gray in the Fort Indian Gap cave facility. That's one of the places he worked. He was a resource of information for him, and they would communicate with humans telepathically. So Charlie would communicate with him telepathically and his team. When they would ask Charlie where he was from, he would just point upward. He would communicate about the work at hand, but did not want to say where he lived or name his planet. John assumed it was the need to know basis or compartmentalization they did to him all the time as they sent him to all these different places. Charlie seemed nice, likable, and the group came to like him. So his explanation of it was like, he wasn't necessarily, he didn't know whether he was on our side or the dark side. He was just there to teach them what he needed to teach them. He was polite, he was nice, he was agreeable. That's all that John could say about Charlie. And he was a typical gray. That's what he said he looked like. Now, during his space program, he went to 3 planets. And he didn't really give the names of these planets, but he named them Planet 1, Planet 2, and Planet 3. On Planet 1, when they sent him on a mission to Planet 1, he went on a recon mission. This was for gathering, I guess, just information, intel. He went into a city area that they called 26. They went with a lot of supplies. Him and his team went with a lot of supplies and goods to establish a trade route. That was the pretense of the whole trip to Planet 1. Their presence spread through the city in 3s and 4s. So, wow. Really, I always say I'm gonna write better, but I never do. His platoon, his team, spread out into the city. Apparently this was a big city, by 3s and 4s, and his platoon was pretty big. Their presence seemed random. The ETs welcomed them in a friendly, neighborly way. This planet did not have war there for years, so the welcome was open and sincere, unlike Earth. Then on the second planet he went to, this planet I know the name of, it was called Planet 2, and it was called Calidus 3. So the social structure there was fairly difficult, and it was different. It was really different. The social structure was really different, and the family unit was different. There were like 3 and 4 couples were considered family, and they considered themselves husbands and wives. So I guess it wasn't difficult. For us here on Earth, that would be a difficult situation. I don't think it was for them. That was the norm for them, and that was on Planet 2. For Calidus, he didn't really go into further explanation of Planet 2. So Planet 3, which again he didn't give a name for, there was prior existence of organized crime when they went on their mission to Planet 3. There were already existing traits. There were already pre-existing states which made that planet like mirror the darker side of humanity. That was the only planet that had fiat currency. So kind of fiat has to do, the last time, I mean, the word sounds familiar to me. I want to say that fiat is, I know we have that currency here. I really can't explain it. I'm not even going to try. But yeah, Planet 3 was the only planet that had money. I wonder why. He never wanted to go native. He said that he would have gone native because the interviewer was asking him, did you ever want to stay on any of these planets? And he said no, because the punishment would have been very real and very brutal for him if he had thought to stay in any one of the planets. He said that if he had the choice, he would have wanted to stay on Planet 1, and I don't blame him. I wish I could go there now. But one of the punishments that they had for them, if he was caught like leaving or trying to stay on any one of the planets he visited, he kind of, it's hard to explain. He explained it as you could go to jail for what seems like in your mind 5 years, but it would only have been 5 minutes. And they would allow him to go through that punishment to teach him to never do it again. And I couldn't imagine going through that, thinking and feeling and believing that you were in a horrible place for 5 years, and really it's all mental, all in your head, and it was only pretty much 5 minutes that you had been there. Ooh, I just couldn't picture it. So he said Planet 1 would again be the planet that he would have chosen to stay on if he could. Now, they were asking him about what he saw on Planet 1, and he said he saw a lot of artwork in the street. He said it looked like a Jules Verne type of art. And I don't know that much about Jules Verne, but I have read his books, and the way things are described are kind of that steampunk kind of style. A lot of knobs and brass and mechanical shapes. That's the type of art that he saw in the streets on Planet 1. And he said the people, were all very intelligent. He said he met many different species. He met Cyclopeans, and yes, I said Cyclopeans. He met people with one eye. So Cyclops do exist. He said they do have bad depth perception, but they're very empathic. And he did meet the insectoid people. He said that was a more strange meeting because, being desensitized, he wasn't sensitive to what they could do, climb up walls, and they were able to move very, very quickly, much more quickly than a human being could. He also said they were telepathic, and they could share their, they could show you and share their images and feelings to communicate with you. So I was like, wow. So this brought me back to thinking about before, the way we were before men fell and allowed evil, we allowed evil to live side by side with us. We were also a beautiful, peaceful, telepathic, one with nature's species. We could talk and communicate without having to use our lips. And he even said, Jason says that it allows for a faster and more clear communication. And I think that it's really sad, because that's the reason why everyone is so lonely on this planet. We cannot communicate like that. And I think that when you're able to hear and feel someone in a conversation, not only just speak to them, but really, really see what they're going through, understand it 100%, and to be able to feel what they're feeling as they're, communicating with you, I think that, you would never feel lonely, because you would always be feeling those sensations and talking to people. Think about it now, all the people you pass every day. I mean, it's really sad what humanity gave up. And I'm hoping that, when all the disclosure hits the fan and people, more and more people realize that the powers that be are corrupt, they are lying, and they have none of our benefits in mind whenever they submit their cures and they lay the lockdowns and they're doing all these things. They know that we are no longer that peaceful, telepathic, communicative, familial type of a civilization, and they take full advantage because they know what we're capable of, but we do not. So I mean, wow, if we could still communicate that way, that would eradicate so much. But anyway, so okay. And another thing he said, he had met Bigfoot type of people, not on these planets, but in general he has met Bigfoot. He has seen them, and he says that Bigfoot, as I've always known, but they're psionic. Bigfoots are psionic, meaning that's why when people see them, they stop dead in their tracks. They cannot move. It's not because they don't want to move, it's because they can't. Bigfoots have a way of emitting. There's just something about them. They can emit something through their minds, through their vocal cords, and stop you dead in your tracks and hold you there. So that's what psionic means, that they're able to control you from a distance. They don't necessarily have to be touching you, which is pretty damn scary. And he says the insectoids versus humans, as far as what we can do and what they can do, he says logic and reason differ vastly from ETs, especially insectoids. They can crawl up walls, communicate with their mind, feelings, and images, which makes them more advanced on all levels. And he said it's not necessarily that they're smarter, it's just that when you communicate with your mind and you have psionic powers, I mean, that just makes you more powerful. And I can't say dangerous, because we were like that once upon a time, and people on this planet, some humans, are naturally born like that. And the empaths, the telepathic people, the people who are psychokinetic. I mean, we all have gifts. I know I have one. But I guess the gist of this whole story, I know I gave you some random details about Jason Rice and his life and everything he's been through. He's coming forward as, like I said, a part of disclosure. They're disclosing this information bit by bit. He wants us to know this has been going on for a very, very long time. And we are already in the Star Wars era. We already have bases on other planets, and there are more planets in our specific universe than they're telling us. And he's coming forward because he says a lot of people died on 20-year and back programs, which is the secret space program. A lot of people have died, and he wants to tell his story and he wants to tell their story. And I just thought it was really interesting. I had to share what he said. I know it's fragmented, and I was like back and forth, and I couldn't give you specifics. I wanted to know so much more. I had so many more questions, like, what are planet 1, 2, and 3 called? I only know that he only said planet 2. The name of planet 2 is Calidus. You can get much more information and much more details even on Jason Rice through Gaia.com, but I haven't even joined Gaia.com because, of course, there is a fee there is a large fee to join Gaia.com, because that's where a lot of disclosure is happening. But on UAMN TV, they give small videos and they talk about Jason Rice's story. Well, Jason Rice himself spoke about his story, but they do talk about things like this and disclosure and things that have happened on other planets years ago that are still happening. And just because he's no longer in the secret space program, there are people right now in the secret space program up there somewhere on a planet not that far away from Earth, because, you know, as, what was it, Jupiter, my very educated mother just ate 9 pies. What am I talking about? Jupiter, the nine planets, how you were taught. My very educated mother just ate 9 pies. That's how you kind of learned what all the planets were, at least that I tried to memorize it like that for school. But there's more planets in between. There's not just 9. There's a lot more life out there, and stay tuned, because the next story is, I think, even more interesting than this one. That'll be coming up next. It's another story about another person who had the whole mind control, because Jason Rice was under mind control. Like I said, they would erase his mind when he would go back home to his family, and he is now like disclosing because he's remembering. He's remembered a lot, and now he's wanting to share his story. So yes, this is my video. Again, I hope that it was cohesive. I hope I kind of made sense. I know I can jump around a lot. I am planning quite a few more stories like this, and if I do decide to join Gaia.com, I will probably bring back a lot more information to you about disclosure and about technology and about things that are happening that really the powers that be don't want you to know. So please stay tuned. And yes, guys, make good program viewing decisions, and I will see you in my next video.